Hi, my name is Anthony Beyers, and before you watch my teaching demo, I'd like to give you a little bit of background about myself. I have a degree in anthropology, and as an anthropologist, I worked in archaeology, cultural anthropology, and forensics. Working in archaeology, I worked in the United States on various projects, and then in Africa, I worked in Kenya, where I was working as a paleoanthropologist doing human origins research, which is a lot of the research that I did over the years. I excavated 1.5 million year old fossilized footprints. I also would find stone tools, and I did research about that, and on looking for cut mark bone that was left behind by our ancestors anywhere between 2 million to 1.5 million years ago. Also in Africa, I had done some work with Egyptologists in Cairo, and where I would study some of the collections in the Cairo Museum, and some visits to the Giza Plateau and the pyramids. I also had interned with the British Museum in the UK, and had gone around to look at various archaeological sites there with representatives from the British Museum. And later on, back in the United States, I had worked with the Environmental Protection Agency and the United States Navy on projects as an archaeologist. Later in the United States, I worked in forensic anthropology, where I worked for the New York City Medical Examiner's Office, where I conducted research to investigate the deaths of people in New York City. After that, I had also went on to move to Europe, where I lived in Spain, and I had taught elementary school English. And now I'm currently teaching at Dalian International Senior High School, where I'm teaching English. I also teach IB courses there. And I like to use my background in science to try to help give different critical thinking methods that the students can use when they are trying to learn a new language. As an anthropologist, and also as somebody who just enjoys to travel, I have traveled all over the world. I've been throughout the Americas, Europe, and Africa, and also parts of Asia. So I like to bring these cultural perspectives to the students. Also, while I worked in the United States as a cultural anthropologist, and I worked for various universities, I had worked on projects that was about different cultures. And so I did that with Indiana University, and I did that with the University of California at Santa Barbara. And I was also employed by the Library of Congress through a researcher that I had been working on projects for many years. And I like to take all of these experiences and try to share them with the students whenever it is relevant, and try to give them these different cultural perspectives as I teach them English. And then also, as I mentioned before, about trying to use scientific thought, but then anthropological holism and anthropological thought in this whole process while teaching English. I think that this can help broaden their perspectives, and also my background in science, I do like to stay up to date with reading new findings within neuroscience and things that can pertain to language. One of the 4 subfields of anthropology is linguistics, which I have also had some experience with. So learning about the evolution of language and how it's used and how it has changed over time and how it varies among different international learners of a particular language like English. So I hope to be able to speak with you more about these topics when we meet in person, and I hope you enjoy the video that I have, which will be on giving review for one of my 10th grade classes. I teach multiple 10th grade classes and some 11th grade English class, and then the IB class that I taught was a 12th grade. But the video will be of a 10th grade English class while I'm reviewing for their upcoming exam. And this is stuff that is magazine articles. So please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So this article was on swifts. So as it says here, there are around 100 swift species. So if you have a question on the test that says, how many species of swifts are there? There are around 100 swift species. So if you have another question on the test that is about this article on swifts, and it says, how long can swifts fly? So swifts can fly up to 10 months continuously. So that means that they can stay flying for up to 10 months at a time. Okay, and then over here, you see where it says that swifts look similar to swallows, but swifts actually belong to a different bird family and are more closely related to hummingbirds. So, if you had a question on the test that said, what bird do swifts look more similar to? The answer would be swallows. But if the question was, what bird are swifts more closely related to? The answer is hummingbirds. Okay? So make sure that you remember that. And also, another thing about swifts that it mentions in the article is that swifts have very short legs. So they don't land on tree branches like other birds outside, which land on horizontal tree branches or stay on the ground, which is horizontal, where you might see birds walking along the ground. Instead, swifts, they hold on to vertical surfaces, so vertical, up and down. So, and that could be on cliff walls, like a rock cliff wall that is vertical, up and down. So those are some of the key points of what could appear on the next exam next week about swifts. So I'll pull up next the vocabulary. Repeat after me. Advantage. Nest. Launch. Continent. Decrease. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'll put the article on the screen, but you could also look at page 14. And I'm going to ask questions. So how many swift species? So with your hands on. Around 100. Yes, correct. Very good. Give a round of applause. Okay, so how many or how long can swifts stay flying? I think your hand is up first. 10 months. 10 months. Very good. Correct. Give a round of applause. Okay, so which bird species does swifts look similar to? Similar. Which one do they look similar to? Swallows. Very good. Give a round of applause. Okay, so the next question. Which birds are swifts more closely related to? More closely related to? So which one of the birds are they more closely related to? Hummingbird. Very good. Very good. Okay. So I think you guys know that those key parts on that. So let's go to the next article. Okay, so Unit 5 is on animal testing. And it is about the FDA, which stands for the Food and Drug Administration, which is the United States government agency which makes the rules for animal testing on things like foods, drugs, so that could be medicines that you might get that aren't out on the market yet, or it could be a medical device, or it could be some kind of food, or even a beauty product. The presentation today was on beauty products. So those things, a lot of what they talked about could have been tested on an animal first, and then the results are given to the FDA to make a decision. Okay, so in the article, it discusses about how the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, wants to stop animal testing. And so their goal is to gradually phase it out over the next 3 to 5 years. So if you have a question on the test that says, when does the FDA plan to stop testing on animals? It's over the next 3 to 5 years. it says instead of animal testing, new methods like AI simulations and lab-grown human cells may fill the gap. Okay, so this was a very short article. Let me pull up the vocabulary. So you can repeat after me. You can look at the screen if you like. The first word, welfare.
Welfare.
Predict.
Predict.
Eliminate.
Eliminate.
Accuracy.
Accuracy.
All right, very good. So let me go back. Like I said, this is a short article, so I'm just going to ask a couple of questions. The stopping of testing on animals. When does the U.S. government or FDA plan to stop testing on animals? Anybody see it? Yes, over the next 3 to 5 years. Everyone applause. And then, instead of animal testing, what are some of the ways that the U.S. plans on testing food and drugs in the future? So once in 3 to 5 years, they stop testing on animals, how do they plan on doing this? AI simulations. What's the other one it says? And lab-grown human cells. Very good. Give a round of applause. All right. So either using AI article. Okay. So this one is on Crete. So the island of Crete. Greece is where Crete is located. So you see here on the map, that's the main part of Greece up there. And then down here, this right there, that is the island of Crete. So it's a smaller island, and there are 4 places that are marked on it, which the article discusses. So it has the Herculon Archaeological Museum, the Palace of Knossos, Samaria Gorge, and Alfonsi Beach. So these are some of the main things that people go to there. So those 4 places are things that are mainly discussed here. So with the island of Crete, one of the questions you might have, how far back does Crete's history go? So the answer would be more than 4,000 years. So Crete's archaeological history or cultural history, it goes back more than 4,000 years. All right? And so that Herculon Archaeological Museum, it holds a lot of the artifacts, so the different things that have been found from the ancient civilization that was in Crete. All right, and the article talks about the legend of King Minos, who built a labyrinth, in which was the home of the dangerous Minotaur. So, legend, that means that it is a story, a fable, a tale. Those are different ways to describe the same thing. So, and King Minos, he would have been as part of this Greek history. And so the dangerous Minotaur that they're describing in it, the Minotaur has a whole head and both feet, but then a human body. So this right here is the Palace of Knossos. So the Grand Palace of Knossos was once the political and cultural center of the Minoan civilization. So just like Taipei is today, that's what this palace was on the island of Crete. So who wants to tell me how long or how far back does Crete's history go? You had your hand up right away. More than 4,000 years. Great. Okay, so what is the name of the ruins that was part of the political and cultural center of the Minoan civilization? What's the name of? Yes, the Palace of Knossos. Very good. Give a round of applause. Some of these words are a little bit harder to say. They're also Greek, so it's not my native language either. What is the name of the narrowest part of the Samaria Gorge? Iron Gates, very good. Give a round of applause. So, narrow, in case you're not sure of the word narrow, so just imagine this little walkway between the desks. So if it slowly got smaller and smaller, narrow. So that's another way to, so if something's getting smaller as it goes along, it is getting narrow, okay?